These are the top 5 video editing softwares. Adobe Premiere. The good points is that it's quite intuitive and it's quite easy to use. Also, it's easy to use with After Effects for motion graphics and stuff if you do stuff like that. There's a bit of a learning curve if you're a brand new editor. I think it's quite simple and it works on Mac and PC. Now the cons, the price is quite expensive. It's £20 a month and it's a subscription model unless you have another means of getting it. But for £10 extra you can get the whole Adobe Creative Cloud suite, and they use this on TV shows and movies and stuff like that. It's not the main one, but people do use it, and Adobe was the second editing software that I actually knew. Number 2 is Final Cut. That's been used on a lot of big productions. Same thing, but it's quite intuitive as well. It's quite cheap. I think it's like £200 and quite easy to use. Like if you've used Imovie, I think you'll get around Final Cut just fine, but it's just more powerful and you can do more things. Cons, obviously £200 and you can't use it on PCs. Third one is DaVinci Resolve. Primarily it was used for color grading, but then they opened it out to do normal editing, non-linear editing. It takes all the codecs, it takes everything, but there is a slight learning curve. Like you have to learn how to do certain things, but if you already know how to edit, it's going to be quite easy. But if you don't know how to edit in a normal program like Adobe or Final Cut, then you might find it a bit tricky and things are just in different places. But coloring is good and you can do your whole project in there, so you don't even need to export it to somewhere else to color it or different things. It's an all-inclusive system. They've got a free version that you can just use until you want to upgrade or do some high-res stuff. If you're first time getting into editing, it's a good place to start because then you can switch to almost any platform afterwards. It's got everything going for it. The only thing I'd say is that it's quite heavy on your machine. If you don't have a powerful machine, it can do PC and Mac, but if you don't have a powerful machine, it's going to really make a lot of noise. It's quite harsh on your machine. It doesn't run as smooth as the other programs I've found. Maybe they've got an update. Number 4, which is the daddy, which is Avid Media Composer. Avid is a beast. They use it on all the big Hollywood productions. That is what they've been using like probably since the 90s, maybe even 80s. It's really like the go-to platform for movies. The advantages is if you use that, you could probably even edit for a TV show or a movie afterwards if you learn it well enough. The only thing is that it's not intuitive or easy to learn. I don't feel like you can't just pick it up. I've used it a few times. When you're just not used to it, it'll take you a while to just familiarize yourself with it. But if you're learning from scratch, and you have the money, I think they're doing a subscription model as well. It's about £24 on one level and then £50 on another level. That's just quite expensive, their subscription model. I don't think you can buy it outright anymore. I think the only one you can buy out right now is DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut. I think they've got a free version for students. It's kind of out of a regular person's price range, but if you can afford it, that's the one I'd learn on, because then you can jump to anything after that. I feel not many people use that unless they're professionals. For the 5th editing software, I'm going to put 2 in there, which are 2 free softwares, which I think if you're a beginner learning editing, that's a good place to start. If you can't get your hands on any of the programs above, this is where I'd start. IMovie, which is on Apple exclusively. If you go from iMovie, you can always go to Final Cut because Final Cut is like a super iMovie. On a PC, then I'd go Windows Movie Maker. The only thing about them is you can't do complex things or you can't deal with all the codecs that you'd like to do. But I think it's a good place to start for a beginner, like if you're just getting stuff in from your phone, or they've got some quite good transitions and things. If I'm in a bind sometimes, that's what I'll use because you just have to use what you can. So I think those are the best softwares depending on your level. I don't see anyone using much else, to be honest. If you use a different software, put it in the comments. See you on the next one. Peace.